Hey guys, how you doing? Video Psych here. Sorry that I didn't make a video for the last couple weeks, but I became a bit busy. And in part, the reason why I was so busy was because I had to finish making up my computer that had been sitting here since March. And as you can see, it is working properly, which is a good thing. It is the first time I've made a computer like that, a desktop computer, in fact. But moving on from that. I'm, of course, here to talk about the pursuit of happiness. Flip flop, yep. Now, a little bit tired, I guess. Where should I begin? I should plan more often on what I'm going to say in these videos, I swear to God. But the thing is, I always think it's weird how people think that, they could just obtain unlimited happiness, it seems. And that's by, let's say, for instance, you can work for happiness or obtain happiness through money, etc. And while a lot of people at least seem to know, you don't get happiness through, money, that you can't buy happiness, basically. Not much. But, dang it, I almost forgot what I was going to say there for a moment. I just stopped looking at the comments. But the thing is, of course, like I was just saying, you can't buy happiness. And while it seems like some people do think you can, or they think that, oh, you can buy this much happiness, but after a certain amount, you can't get any more happiness. And I'm just kind of thinking like, you can buy fun, but you can't really buy happiness. And if you think that you can buy happiness, then you don't really know what happiness actually feels like. But I at least get the confusion. It could be very easy to be confused about happiness like that. Just like I used to talk with druggies about what actually makes you happy. Just like when I talked to them about the time I stopped taking antidepressants and how the only thing that antidepressants do is that they make you feel more calm. You know what I mean? And of course, they tried dragging on about how, antidepressants do make you happy, blah blah blah. My aunt takes them, and she's been a lot happier ever since. And it's like, well, she's not happier; she's just more calm. The drugs have calmed her down. They've calmed down her anxiety. But here's part of the reason why I stopped taking them. Well, one, it was because they were starting to wear off a bit, and in order to if I was going to keep on taking antidepressants per se, I would have to take a higher dosage so that they would still, make me calm again like that. So instead of spending tons of money on antidepressants and all that, which they were going to cost even more than they did before, obviously, since they're a higher dosage, right? So I decided to just get off of them because they were just causing too many issues. But the other reason is because while I was taking them, I had noticed that while I was more calm, I was also way too calm. Meaning that, I used to watch a ton of Comedy Central, and I used to laugh all the time hysterically at these jokes that these stand-up comedians were making, right? And I noticed that when I was taking the antidepressants, that had left me. That I wasn't, finding these jokes funny like I used to. It had basically taken away my sense of humor because I was just way too calm to have a sense of humor anymore. But I also couldn't feel, also get excited from, let's say, anger, at the same time. And it's just that thing. You can't get pure excitement from taking antidepressants because all they're made to do is just make you feel calm. And so that was another thing, is that I eventually missed being able to get excited and have those moments of excitement like that. You know what I mean? And I'm a hard person to get excited, period. But just to not have that experience of excitement ever, ugh, I mean, it's not worth it to be taking antidepressants like that. It just really is not. I want to be able to have a sense of humor, be funny, and laugh at people's jokes, etc. And taking antidepressants was taken out away from me. And it's also the same with a lot of other drugs. And that's the funny thing about people getting into careers, because they're thinking, oh, once I get into this career and I'm making all this money and I'm doing all this, that I'm gonna be just living life and I'm gonna always be happy and all that. Well, it's just funny and ironic to me how that's basically the same goal as a druggie has, if you know what I mean. I mean, who in the world is naive enough to think that there's a point in their life where they're always going to be happy? Because the thing is, and this is the reason why going towards that kind of happiness is a scam in the first place. And the reason why is because whether we like it or not, we're going to have our ups and downs and our levels, etc. We are just always going to be happy or sad or mad, and there's just nothing that we can do about it. That is just in our human nature, and it is something that I think a lot of people need to stop trying to fight and just let happen. Now, I understand why people want to go towards that, pursuit of happiness and, try to live in a mansion and have like 50 different Ferraris and Bugattis in their garage. But, I mean, one, do you really need all of that shit? And two, it's not going to make you any happier. For a moment, you're going to have fun with it. You're going to have fun with your Bugatti for at least a week or 3. You're going to have fun with all the people acting like your friends coming to your house who aren't really your friends, obviously. And then eventually you are going to get bored out of your fucking mind. You are going to realize that you are alone and that nobody cares about you. That's if you don't have at least the people that you know from the start, like family members, etc. And that's pretty much going to be it. And then you're also going to realize you're going to be even more bored, because now that you've gone to this point of success, you have accomplished your goal. You're living in the multi-million dollar mansion with Bugattis and Ferraris in it. What else is there to do? And you're going to realize that there's nothing to do. You're going to be bored out of your fucking mind. And at first, to get rid of the boredom, you're going to be buying things and even be paying overprice what something is, just to, have something to do or to give you something to do. Because it's just like, well, I mean, I have so much money. I mean, I might as well just give this guy extra so it gives me something else to do tomorrow. So I actually have something to accomplish tomorrow. So I don't have just all this cash and I'm just bored as fuck. Well, that's going to work at first, but then you're going to get even more bored than that. And then you're going to get to the point where you're like that guy, like the guy that created Minecraft, where you're basically are just going to sell all of your creations and your accomplishments, and you're going to get really tired of actually just being really rich. And here's the thing. This is the reason why I know this. And I've talked about it somewhat on my channel, how I actually used to live in a mansion here in Iowa, in an older mansion. And it was while I was homeschooled. And, a lot of people would think, well, that's awesome. And, at first it actually was really awesome living in an old mansion right next to the Mississippi River. I could it was a very good view too. You could see Illinois from my house. You could see the border of Illinois from our house from the Mississippi. We were on top of the hill in an older mansion. And so for a little while I would say for the time period and for what a kid would want, I pretty much thought I had everything I wanted. But then of course, since we had just moved to Burlington and I had just become homeschooled, I didn't have any friends. And, being labeled as, a handicapped person, like mentally challenged or whatever, that didn't help anything. Also, it didn't help the fact that, my parents were rich. And so all the kids around the neighborhood were jealous of me. And so that also didn't help me make any friends at the same time. I mean, it's weird. It's like, people are labeling me as this disabled person, but at the same time, they're jealous of me because my parents are rich. You know what I mean? And so it didn't exactly help the situation of making friends. And so I was very isolated for like up to, I would say, even 5 years. Like damn near 5 years of my life, just isolated in that place. Oh my God. I mean, I'm glad that's over with now. But like, man, at the time, it was just such a shitty situation. You can be happy with money, friends. Well, I mean, that is where power comes from. You can be happy with money. In fact, as friends, you have to learn how to create your own friends and loved ones. I mean, that in a sense is true, but the only problem is that when you get that kind of money and your family starts getting into that kind of money, the only people that you are attracting are the people that are trying to get that money from you is the only issue. And even some of the legit people that would have cared about you are also possibly in some cases trying to get money from you sometimes or trying to look for a job for you. So in that case, those people that would have potentially cared about you become associates. And so as far as finding people to care about you, it becomes a very big issue. It's not like it's not possible, but when you have that kind of money, it starts to become a bit of an issue. And so 9 times out of 10, the people that you're hanging around with, if not 10 times out of 10, are people that are not your friends and will throw you under the bus if they were given the chance. Take it from me. And trust me, with these people that don't care about you, they will throw you under the fucking bus. I mean, one thing you can do, I guess, maybe if you really wanted to, and this is what the guy of Minecraft kind of did, that created Minecraft. I mean, yeah, like I said, he gave away his fortune, his game, and his game rights to Microsoft. But, I mean, I remember the time period where I actually was, at one point, kind of breaking out of the house a bit. Because, I used to think that partying was, like, everything at the time. And so I would go out to, find people to party with and stuff. And what I would do at the time is that I took some of my older clothing, of course, to not seem so rich, around everybody else at the time, so that people wouldn't pick on me or whatever. And it seemed to work. But, I also found a lot of people that just weren't really trustworthy. In fact, pretty much nobody was really that trustworthy that I met at the time when I was trying to go out and party and, escape from my place at the time. I did that for like maybe 2 years at best. I started doing it the last year that I was homeschooled and part of the year when I used to be going through the Christian school that I used to go to full of women. And now it's just a whole nother shit sandwich in itself. Trying to get out of homeschooled, let me tell you. 5 years of not, associating and making friends and socializing with people, it really does a lot. And then when you get back into the mix of socializing with people again, long story short, it really wasn't fun. But so, acting broke, I mean, it could help to an extent, but it also doesn't really fix the issue when you're still living that life, and people like that will also eventually figure out that you're rich, probably. In fact, that was even part of the reason why I stopped talking to people that I was, because there was at least a couple of them that actually heard about that I lived in a mansion and my parents were rich. And when that happens, they actually started acting kind of different around me. And of course, it got to a point where I kind of just stopped trusting them, and I just kind of I got rid of their numbers, and I just stopped talking to them altogether. I think there was a couple of times when they tried calling me, but I didn't answer. And finally, after that, they just stopped. So just take it from me. It's a kind of a complicated issue. But I mean, nowadays, not now that my situation isn't like that anymore. I mean, I'm not really rich, obviously, but I'm also not, broke at the same time. And that's pretty much how I want it to be. I don't care to have all the shit anymore. In fact, I mean, from what I've seen, having all that stuff seriously is just a waste of life and money. It seriously is. Although I would maybe get some things like, I mean, I guess I probably wouldn't mind a Ferrari and a bit of a nicer place, but I don't really care to be in a mansion anymore. There's just, but even with stuff like that, I mean, even I don't really think I need a Ferrari. Although I would like one, I don't really need one. And if I never had one, I'm not going to cry over it because I just don't need it. And I know that I'll just grow bored of it, and it's just going to sit in my garage. And then I'd have to deal with all the issues of the Ferrari, because owning luxurious and high-end cars like that, I mean, when you own a car like that, that thing becomes your baby, and I don't want to have to deal with that. I mean, it's just like when I bought, a Love doll or a TPE doll. When I bought that thing, I had to do maintenance on it. I had to clean it. I had to carry it around, etc. And it's kind of the same thing with something like a Ferrari, in a sense, or Corvettes. That thing becomes your baby, and you're going to be worrying about it all the time. And during break time at your work, you're going to go to your Ferrari and see if there's anything wrong with it, or some bird pooped on it, because you just spent like $500,000 on it, etc. I think you get the point. And that's another thing about getting expensive stuff like that I guess I would mention, is that you really do worry way too much when you actually get this stuff, because like I just said, you have just spent $500,000 on a Ferrari, right? Well, or maybe it's something like maybe 80,000, because depending on what Ferrari you get. I mean, you're going to be worried about everything around you when you're driving it, when you're parking it. Are the people around you not going to key your car out of jealousy, or going up to a restaurant with your girlfriends? All these people are going to be staring at you because you're in a Ferrari, etc. And I don't think I really care about that kind of attention. It kind of makes you think, oh, are some of these people thinking about stealing my car, etc.? And I think you guys get the point. The thing is, you're going to be worrying so much about what people think of you and your vehicle at the same time that in some cases, I actually just don't even think that getting something like that is worth it, in my opinion. I mean, just take it from somebody that's had the experience. And yes, I actually have been in Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I mean, I haven't been in a Bugatti because those things are fucking rare. I mean, I've been in Dodge Vipers. Dodge Vipers used to be one of my favorites. And just like my uncle down in Minnesota, he used to work on Ferraris. And he used to do a lot of body work on cars. He used to do body work on Lamborghinis. He used to sell Chevys and make them by hand. He made my father's 1969 Chevy 450 horsepower, which he owns right now. He in Baxter here. I'm a bit unhappy today because I packed up one of my love balls to sell her. I'm still happy though because I am still. Yeah, it happens. But anyway, with that all being said, I think I've just said enough. But yeah, just don't let anybody tell you that, you're unhappy with your life or you're living a shitty life. Never ever let anybody tell you that you're living a shitty life like that. Because when it comes down to it, the only thing that can actually make you happy, besides maybe the very few things that you like and can kind of sort of make you happy, is you and your attitude. And of course, what do I mean by that? Well, just think of it this way. My nieces and grandparents and grandmothers used to talk about how my grandfather was the only person that ever had fun during the Depression in the family. And of course, it was kind of funny when I first heard about that, but when I asked him about that, he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Yeah, for some reason, like the people around me couldn't just, just find something to do. Like they would just sit there depressed, like they just lived the shittiest life because they weren't rich anymore. And, I just would use my imagination to just find shit to do and, just come up with jokes. And he even talked to me about this one time he taught the dog that they had at the time to chew gum. And he would even like take the gum with his finger and do that and then put it back in his mouth. But, I mean, that's just one example. Is, again, part of the reason why people become so unhappy sometimes with the situations beyond the situation is just their own attitude towards it. I mean, there are times when you can be unhappy and things can make you unhappy, obviously, like let's say a family member dies. Obviously that's going to make you sad, But the thing is, you can sometimes also choose to have a better attitude towards your experience sometimes and try to find something to do rather than just being fucking depressed all the time is what I'm trying to say. And so sometimes when I, see these incels on the internet and some other people on the internet and they talk about how shitty their lives are, I'm just like, well, you could at least try to do something about it, is what I'm trying to say. Instead of, just going on the internet like 24/7 and trying to get attention from people about, oh, people don't talk to me, or, oh, people this and that, that's something that you need to get yourself out of, and you need to start looking towards doing something else and keeping yourself busy. I don't care if it's something like a job or, or like let's say doing art or just anything, man. Just keep yourself and your mind busy. And that's something that I think a lot of people have lost touch with, is just the fact that all these people think that they have to buy all this shit to make themselves happy, and that's just not how it works. But again, with that being said, I'll just kind of end the video here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hello from France.